All clear. Keep watching, or I'll get coffee.
It's a beautiful day. It's an early morning. It's a Sunday. Most people, either military or civilian, are still in bed. And it seems like another placid day in Hawaii in the Pacific.
The United States does have many indications that something is going to happen. They've broken the Japanese codes.
They know that the Japanese ambassadors are going to come to Washington at a very specific time on December 7th to present their rejection of FDR's final proposal.
And therefore, we should be on alert because something's going to happen. But the Japanese start planning the attack on Pearl Harbor long before the breakdown in relations. They're going to keep radio silent, 6 aircraft carriers, 33 ships, 414 aircraft. They're going to cover 3,500 miles worth of northern Pacific Ocean and arrive about 200 miles off the northern part of Hawaii on the morning of December 7th. 6 o'clock in the morning, they're going to launch 189 planes in a first wave.
Pearl Harbor, at this point, houses the great majority of the Pacific Fleet. Its majority of its destroyers, its battleships.
Jeez. Did you guys hear that?
FDR is sitting in his study with his stamps. He's there with his close advisor, Harry Hopkins, who lives in the White House.
Yes. Knox, what is it? No. They've attacked Pearl Harbor.
That can't be right. Must be a mistake. The Japanese do not have the guts.
But they have. While their so-called diplomats are sitting with our Secretary of State. Get everybody in here.
The Japanese see that the harbor is filled with sitting ducks, these great vessels filled with crew members, filled with ammunition, and they're all tied up and they're all right next to each other. So it's like shooting fish in a barrel.
They're attacking with a second wave right now.
How many? It's Battleship Row. They hit them all. 8 sunk or incapacitated. The Arizona lost with all hands.
Why, in God's name, were they all tied up at dock?
Given how surprised they were and how ill-prepared they were, the Americans really put up a pretty brave fight. The one great failure of Japanese intelligence is that they don't know the aircraft carriers aren't there. So the 3 American carriers end up escaping this attack. But it's too little too late.
18 ships are sunk or heavily damaged. 2,402 military personnel are killed. Another 1,247 are wounded. Nearly 60 civilians are killed.
They take out hundreds of American aircraft, and they destroyed critical airfields and wharves.
The shock was then amplified by the series of attacks. Pearl Harbor was just one of more than 10 invasions and attacks that happened all across the Pacific. including Singapore and Malay and eventually the Philippines. The Japanese seemed unstoppable. This is the worst day in FDR's life. He was so committed to the U.S. Navy. When he was Assistant Secretary of the Navy, he was actually at the keel-laying ceremony for the USS Arizona, and now it lay at the bottom of Pearl Harbor.
After Pearl Harbor, everyone who was in the White House on that day said FDR exhibited a deadly calm. While aides are running in and out with one report worse than the next report, in a panic, he just remained calm. Eleanor said that at times of great crisis, he could actually be an iceberg. But that anger and those feelings were inside.
Maybe 2,000 of our boys dead. More than 100 planes lost, God knows how many ships.
You cannot blame yourself.
It was on my watch.
Hello? Prime Minister Churchill.
Winston.
Mr. President, what's this about Japan?
They've attacked us at Pearl Harbor. We're all in the same boat now.
Well, this simplifies things.
It certainly does.
Sunday, December 7th, 1941. Late in the afternoon, he lights a cigarette, calls Grace Tully, his secretary, and dictates the great speech with punctuation. Yesterday, comma, December 7th, 1941, comma, a date which will live in world history, was the first line.
And he makes one of the most extraordinary edits, and he crosses out world history.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
When he goes to the joint session of Congress, that anger and fury are underneath the resolve and determination, and it was just exactly what people needed to hear. This is treachery. This will not stand.
I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
Most people are completely shocked by crisis, either economic crisis or war. FDR was not shocked. He'd been through the crisis of his own loss of his limbs. Most people think they don't have the confidence to deal with these terrible things. FDR had a lot of confidence.
The average American went to bed on December 6th lukewarm about the prospect of going to war. By the afternoon of December 7th, many of them believe what Admiral Nimitz says as he steams back into Pearl Harbor. When we're done with those people, the only place that they will speak the Japanese language is in hell. And effectively what they do is they wake a sleeping giant. December 8th, we declare war on Japan. Ironically, on the 11th of December, Germany declares war on the United States.
And then finally, we can declare war on them. That was the war he knew he needed to happen.
Roosevelt can take off the gloves, and he can lead Americans openly and honestly into war against fascism, which was the greatest threat democracy had ever faced.